Hey guys, how's it going? Brian from Brian Boas here. My 2020 locality boa breeding season is continuing, and today I want to give you guys an update. There's been some developments since the last one of these breeding updates I made a few weeks ago. So I have a couple of boas who I'm pretty sure are now gravid, a few others that are possibly gravid, and some that are still ongoing, and I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen with those pairings. I also wanted to review my terms of sale since I've been getting a lot of inquiries from people who are interested in possibly adopting one of my boas later this year. So I just want to remind you guys of how that works. So let's go take a quick look at my female boas right now. The first female I'm pretty much sure is gravid is my Hog Island. Let's take a look at her. She's been just kind of lying above the heat spot in a pretty tight coil for the last few weeks. How's she doing? Yeah, so you can see she's just lying there, nicely coiled, conserving heat. I've been temping her, and she's consistently maintaining about 88 or 89 degrees, so good temperature for the babies to be cooking up. And then you can see she looks pretty thick, especially towards the bottom end of her abdomen, towards her tail. I don't want to disturb her, but you can see she's really kind of swollen up here. Very she definitely looks gravid, and she's definitely acting gravid. You know, no guarantee I'm going to get babies. Could be full of nice developing babies, could be full of slugs, just have to see. But I'm pretty hopeful that this might be one of my first litters of 2020, probably sometime around the early July or even late June time frame. Now I'm going to check in on another female who I'm pretty positive is gravid. This is a crawl key female, and she's just basically been hanging out in her under her hiding spot for the last couple weeks in a pretty tight coil, maintaining about an 88 degree body temperature. There she is. So you can see she looks pretty swollen up. Another thing about her is you can see she's kind of lying on her side, and this is a position that gravid females will take to conserve the heat and to make sure their babies are incubating nice and warm. And she kind of sits under this plastic hide over the hot spot for a while, gets up to about 90, and then she'll usually leave and she'll go to the other hide that's a little cooler. But she hasn't been moving around too much. So she's pretty large for a crawl key. She's about 5.5 feet or so. The male is only about maybe 3.5 feet. He looks tiny by comparison. And I'm super excited for this pairing because I tried the same pairing last year when the male was new. Unfortunately, it didn't take, but this year looks to be better. So based on her shed, her post-ovulation shed, I would expect this female to give birth probably sometime around late July or early August. Just thought I'd take a quick shot of the male crawl key boa, just so you can see how much smaller he is. And he's in a separate tub now after, you know, a job well done with the female. He's just kind of chilling out, back to a normal feeding schedule of about 1 meal a month or so. And you can see he's maybe 3.5 feet or so, much smaller than the female. Now I'm going to check on my longicauda. The female had a shed a few weeks ago that I thought was a post-ovulation shed, although I didn't see any obvious signs of ovulation, which, you know, sometimes I don't see. But then I noticed that the male was still actively courting her and some on and off signs of copulation, so I left them together. And again, I've seen some on and off signs copulation, so they're together. I don't see any obvious copulation. Sometimes they just kind of lie together like that. Usually I just kind of give them their space. So she's not gravid at this point, that's pretty clear, but still got my fingers crossed on these longicaudas. I have to just see what happens. Now let's check in on one of my BCC pairings. This is a Tomato Venezuela true red-tailed boa, and this is the first year I've tried to breed these. Not exactly sure what's going on. I thought she had a post-ovulation shed a few weeks ago, but she really hasn't been acting gravid. Although she does look kind of coiled now, but that's actually the cooler side of the cage, and you can see her head is stretched out towards the warmer side. I mean, sometimes they actually alternate between the hot spot and the cool side. They kind of coil their body like that to conserve the heat. But, you know, we look at these boas and we think that they're going to behave a certain way. And sometimes they don't. You know, they go on instinct. They've been around for millions of years. And the behavior that's encoded in their DNA has allowed them to successfully reproduce. So sometimes you got to just let nature take its course. So I think this girl may be gravid. I haven't noticed any activity from the male with her, and I actually took the male out a few days ago. I'm going to feed him. I may put them back together, or I may not. Just have to see how it goes. But not sure about this one, but still keeping my fingers crossed. So that's the Tomato Venezuela true red-tailed boa. It's a very rare locality boa in captivity. This is stock from Terry Cullen. Now let's check in on the Pearl Island female. This is Boa constrictor saboge. So she had what I believe to be her post-ovulation shed about 2 weeks ago. I actually took the male out since they hadn't shown any interest. You can see she's kind of actually coiled above her hiding spot. You know, she's kind of been going back and forth from being in the hiding place to being on top of the hiding place. So within the hiding place is about 88 to 90 degrees. You know, the top of the hiding place is probably about 84 degrees or so. So she just kind of moves back and forth. And I'm fairly certain she's gravid. You can see she's not quite as thick around as the Kralki or the hog. But these Pearl Island boas have small litters. The first year I bred them last year, I had 5 babies from my other female. And my other female didn't really get that big either, and she didn't really act all that gravid, which is why I'm pretty confident this girl is gravid. So I would expect, to have a relatively small litter, probably somewhere in the range of, maybe 4 to 8 babies. This is her first year, and these Pearl Island boas have relatively small litters. But we'll have to see. I mean, there's never anything definite, and right now it's just a waiting game. Just count down the next few months and see what happens with the Pearl Island boa. Finally, I want to show you one of my most anticipated pairings for 2020, and that's my Peru true red-tailed boa. Been getting a lot of questions from you guys about these. And while I don't want to get my hopes up too much, I have seen some positive signs lately. And I've been keeping them together still. I actually separated them to feed a few weeks ago. You can see, what are they doing now? They're kind of lined up. I don't know if you can see the male is on the top there. He's the one with the peak saddles, and then the female is kind of underneath him. It looks like they're not copulating now. I have seen some signs of copulation, and the female is definitely swelling up. So I'm not sure if she's gravid yet. I haven't had any post-ovulation shed from her, but based on the swelling, it's pretty likely she ovulated, and now I just have to wait and get a shed. I mean, hopefully in the next couple weeks I'll get a post-ovulation shed, and then we'll see how it goes. So I tried breeding this female 2 years ago with a different male, and unfortunately I just got slugs. And so I don't want to get my hopes up, but we'll have to see. I mean, the true red-tailed boas for me are the last to give birth every year. Typically they're born between August and October. So these guys, will be quite a while to wait for, but it'll definitely be worth the wait if it pans out. And I'll be like super happy if I get a litter from this Peru true red-tailed boa. So that's a brief update on where I am with my 2020 boa pairings. So at this point in the year, it's typical that I'll have a few gravid females. I'll have a few that I'm not quite sure about. I'll have a few that I just think need more time, and I have a few that I don't really know what's going on. You know, and I learn new things every year breeding boas. It's never the same thing twice. Always very exciting. You know, you can do everything right. You can get high quality breeding stock, roll them up slowly, prepare them for breeding exactly right. But ultimately, it's up to the boas to do the breeding. So sometimes you just have to sit back, let things happen, and you know, be a little bit flexible. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder of my terms of sale, since many of you have expressed interest in my boas. So I don't do waiting lists. I'm first come, first served once the boas are ready to go. And typically they are ready to go about 2 months or so after they're born. I need to get at least around 4 meals into them, make sure that there's no health issues before I'm going to ship out a boa to you. I do payment plans with 25% non-refundable payment deposit to hold an animal, and the remainder is due in 3 months or when it's warm enough to ship. And I'm fairly flexible with my payment arrangements. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your boas.